let's go ahead, come up here and speak, whoever wants to, because that's what it's all about. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me. My name is Nick Lalis, and I'm an attorney from Elgin, Texas. I'm a career public servant. So when I see the reaction that the court's having this morning, I understand what it is like to not be able to do everything you want to do for the people you serve because you have limitations on the powers. As you all are probably aware, several hundred of your constituents gathered last Wednesday night to discuss data centers. And I will tell you what they did talk about was fire, water, power, the cost of living, the encroachments on privacy that we're all aware of and we're all afraid of. But there was a mindfulness of the same limitations that you have brought up and expressed a little bit of frustration with this morning. Not a single member of your constituency said, hey, we don't want good paying jobs, or hey, we are averse to all technology. But what they complained most about was not just the encroachment on lands, the alteration in quality of life, but also what they felt was a lack of information, notice, and transparency throughout the process. And as such, when I went to them and gave my presentation, which of course I encourage you to watch, I have some pretty practical recommendations on how we can both mend what could be a rift with the community and your constituency and ensure a sustainable course for abatements and these sorts of projects going forward. I call it the Bastrop Bill of Rights. Essentially what it does is ensure that there's transparency upfront, proactively, and not kind of retroactively. You wouldn't want your constituents to have to go do a public information request to obtain essential information to figure out how their land or property or welfare are going to be impacted. I think that in context of the tax abatements, there may be an opportunity to improve them by affirmatively inserting some more direct citizen involvement. I know there's some discussion of public hearings in relation to these. I would perhaps say there could be a point where we insert something like a citizens advisory working group, even as a static measure that would ensure that their viewpoints and concerns are heard and that people can kind of unite behind a common course of action. And in addition, I'm encouraged by the remarks that at least one of you has expressed interest in a special session. And I believe, Commissioner Beckett, you said you've heard from 12 attorneys before on this stuff, right? Well, you're hearing from a 13th now. Sorry about that. But I would say, in addition to calling for a special session, there are emergency powers the governor could invoke, along with temporary guidance measures that could be given to counties. And I'll say there are a couple different instances from recent history where the governor resurrected a whole state agency from the dead, the Plumbing Examiners Board, that expired due to sunset. He brought them back with a stroke of a pen. We all remember the emergency measures that were done during COVID. Things are possible if the governor has the political will to do them. And I would encourage you all, as public officials that have the voice of the people in your ear all the time, to convey that to him, and that he take that power and use it in a temporary, responsible way to ensure that you're given the authority to be responsive to your constituents, which I take you at your word, you want to do that. So I think there are more opportunities to do so. And I would also encourage you to, in the context of the abatements, try to insert some sort of citizen working group, and then maybe do what Hill County did and affirmatively publish front and center on the county website all the information you have related to Edge Connects or these new facilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
He will show you. That's Nick Lelis. Okay, I'm Linda Curtis. I'm speaking on behalf of the League of Independent Voters, a nonpartisan membership association for independent voters. We have been inundated with calls since the town hall last Wednesday. Many people are losing faith in government, but I'm talking about federal and state government. They have not lost faith in you yet, but they're getting strained. They're struggling to understand when your only response to them is giving tax abatement is the only way to control these data centers. To regular people, this sounds like you're getting held up. And I believe you and we are all getting held up by big tech and the wealthiest man currently on planet Earth. That said, again, I've not lost faith in you. We are looking for a signal from you that you want to turn this train around. And if you listen to Nick Lelis, we've got that online. You can watch it. It's a very measured and smart presentation. I'm sure you're well aware that Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller is calling for a statewide one-year moratorium and for a special session. Yes, lame ducks can quack loud, thank God. I want to make sure that you heard, however, Commissioner Miller's call for significant setbacks for these facilities. We have 4,000 to 5,000 people, perhaps, who live very close to EdgeConneX and the newly planned massive Pacifico data center that reportedly wants a massive tax abatement. Our bottom line, I believe, is this: fire risks of these facilities are real. And I'm here to beg you to call together local fire officials in a public workshop with fire expert Gary Oldham to discuss this immediately. Gary had a 7-minute video that I shared with Commissioner Carmack, and it's in our video. I'm happy to send this to you, or you can watch the town hall. I have written comments to share with you that that Lindsay handed to you, the essence of which it gives you an opportunity to get your abatement guidelines in order with law and this community. I don't have 3 more minutes to review these with you. Please take time today to review and the offered language to tighten these policies to protect public safety and public funds, including language that needs cleanup in your proposed guidelines to avoid legal disputes. They are highlighted in written comments handed to you. Something I did not understand until last night: though the guidelines can be amended once they're passed, it takes a 3/4 majority vote of the court to amend them. That's 4 out of 5 of you. Please work harder to win from us the trust I know you want. You live here just like we all do. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Donald Laux. I'm a certified Texas emergency manager. I live in Cedar Creek. I served in the military 35 years. And as a county commissioner, I've served on congressional staff as a certified firefighter and fire commissioner. I have 2 items I want to discuss. One is safety and the other is abatement. One of the things that you must consider, I'm abridging this, is the planned use of property will not constitute a hazard to public safety, health, or morals. Health and safety. One of the things, some of the things are air, water pollution, or fire hazards before you agree to a deal. This is a study, this is an omnibus study from Incident to Insight, Fire Risk in Modern Data Centers. These data centers use extensively lithium-ion batteries for backup power, which they have to preserve memory, RAM memory. Lithium-ion batteries are extremely hazardous. Air Florida flight 25 years ago went straight into the Everglades after a cargo hold fire incapacitated the crew. Those batteries cannot be shipped by air to this day. If the battery casing is compromised, it's an immediate short and immolation, and the only thing a fire department can do is protect exposures around it to keep that from catching on fire. It's horrendous. Commissioner Carmack, I appreciate your comments about the tax issue and about what counties can and cannot do. It would be really nice if some rural counties could band together and form an organization to get legislation passed to give us some power for land use and density management, but no one seems to be motivated to do that. By tax abatements, you're deferring the taxes to the organization that you're granting the abatements to, and that's picked up by the existing taxpayers, and that's not fair. That is buying influence on the people's tax credit card. If we had no property taxes, there would be no abatements, and if you wanted to lure a business in, you'd have to use existing tax income to do it, which the people would not go for. One thing about flock cameras and data centers, isn't it interesting that flock cameras and data centers all popped up at the same time? The flock cameras are used under contract with private contractors, and they are not constrained by the Fourth Amendment. They do collect more information than license plates. They do facial recognition, gait recognition, how many people in a car, a lot more, and also radio frequency intercept. This has been compromised already. And data centers have to be used because of their high capacity of AI usage and memory to process all this information. If you add flock cameras to data centers, eventually you'll end up with a Chinese communist style surveillance state, which is exactly what some people want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking some time to hear me out. I really appreciate your service to our county. My name is Dave Scott. I am the owner of Earth Native Wilderness School. We're an outdoor education school here in the county. We've been running outdoor education programs for the last 15 years. We've helped tens of thousands of children connect with the outdoors. We run like really immersive outdoor education programs for kids, getting them off screens, getting them into the outdoors, learning about nature and learning about outdoor skills. We share a border with the Wallace Ranch. I've been looking at their cows and having their cows get into my property for the last 15 years. So this is deeply personal to me, but also I'm a lifelong Texan. And I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily opposed to data centers. I'm also a military veteran. I do believe that these data centers will get built. I just don't know that this close to our town is the right place for this data center. I have serious concerns about the fire danger. Also, Cedar Creek, I've spent, the last 15 years along Cedar Creek. It shares water with our aquifer that we drink from in this county. And that creek runs right through the middle of that property. I believe that there's some serious concerns about that property in general. And also, I was very touched by the information that came from Georgetown Fire, just about our fire facilities here and whether we can handle a fire at a facility of that size. As far as the tax abatements, I know you all have researched that as much as I, or way more than I have. So I don't know, if you have a little bit of power there, obviously, wield it as much as you can. I know that you have limited power. It frustrates me that you have limited power, and I don't blame you for that. I'm sorry that you're getting a lot thrown at you. And I want you to do what you can. I also don't necessarily believe that it's, this data center is definitely coming. I personally would want to make it as hard as we can for the data center to come. I think it will get built elsewhere potentially if we make it hard for them to be here. Maybe there's other places that want this data center. I would personally like to see it a little bit less close to an area like Bastrop, the city of Bastrop. But if it is going to come here, I think there are ways that it could be here quieter, more environmentally friendly, and less impactful on our community. And I'd like to see it be that way. I know that people have come up and spoken at different meetings and said it can be quiet. We have to not think of the best case scenario and just be optimistic. We have to ensure that it is one of the top of the line data centers if it is going to end up being here in our county. But personally, I would come out against the tax abatements, not knowing much, just because it's hard for me to swallow some of the wealthiest companies in the country not paying their fair share of taxes when, me and my business and all the people of this county pay taxes every single day and contribute to this county. And I'd like to see all those other companies doing the same. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I also want to say thank you. I know that you're in the hot seat on all of this, but something and somebody is making Texas very desirable for data centers. And so we want to know, where do we go to stop it? Because before it's all said and done, we will have over 900 data centers in the state of Texas, and we're losing our heritage, our farmlands. I'm a 6th generation Texan. It's horrifying, and it does not we don't need hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of data centers. That being said, you guys may have no say in them coming here, but you are complicit in partnering with them through use of mass surveillance. I like to say that every time we pass a flock camera, a data center gets its wings. Okay. That is how data centers are made, by being used, and we are being forced to use them every single time we pass a flock camera. Third-party, hyperscale, multinational mega corporations are rapidly filling the gap between the citizens and elected officials. And we are here to say it's not okay. It is not technology that we are against. It's a technocracy, and we assert that real police officers offer more value to a community than cameras. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Cookberg. I've lived in Bastrop since 1972. I'm the owner of Bastrop Montessori since 2019. I have been committed to, I'm gonna get emotional. I've been committed to the well-being of children all my life. I started babysitting when I was 12 years old, and I've never quit. I've just gone to a larger scale. And in all the things that I have heard, nothing really, I mean, I know in a general sense, people are talking about health and well-being, but I have not heard very many people talk about the children. You can see how I feel about it. So, I feel strongly that you all have, well, first I wanted to say, Claire, that thank you very much for talking about the power that you all do and do not have. I busy myself with 3-year-olds. I don't busy myself with this stuff, so I don't know, and I appreciate knowing, but you all were elected to a position of trust. And we trust you to watch out for us. And I don't feel like that's happening. I want to say thank you to all the people who do really research because I don't, and a lot of good points have come up. I want to thank you all for your service, but I really feel like we're being let down. Some of the ideas that have sounded good to me was this coalition of counties to band together and get some power from the state. I'm clear that as a citizen, I need to be more active in calling my state representatives, and it's on their list. Some other things that have made sense to me as a business owner, like I think David, the Earth Native owner, I think that was his name. But I'm a small business owner. He's a small business owner. We jump through county hoops left, right, and center. I've been doing nothing but jumping through county hoops for the last 2 weeks. I'm a small business owner. I have to jump, but they don't have to jump. No one ever offered me any tax abatement. And I'm an independent. I'm a local person. I've lived here since 1972. If anybody is going to get tax abatements, surely it should be the local people and not corporate America who have more money than they could possibly know what to do with. So I feel strongly that there must be more that y'all can do, and I would really ask you to look deep and find it and get it done. At the very least, to work more with informing us of how we need leaders to coalesce and get together our power, and we need that leadership from y'all. The abatements, I just said I'm not a fan, but surely y'all can have safety setbacks. I know that lately I'm dealing with a lot of fire inspections, and it's setback, fire access. Thank y'all so much. I'm appreciative but very frustrated.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name's Ryan, and I live off FM 20, just across from the Pacifico proposed development or gas powered power plant, and 3,000 acres of data center. When you said that you can use tax abatements to kind of control what they do or put regulations, where are those available? For the Edge Connects, for example, the first one they did, I know they haven't asked for tax abatements for the second and third phase yet, but for the first one, where can we find out what you guys did to protect us with those tax abatements? Because I think that would really be important for us. It's personal. I have a 2-year-old. I live on 20. We have a land that's surrounded by generational land. This is so personal to me. When Addleton started their development and clearing and putting trees in piles and lighting them on fire, I did a 2-year prairie rescue at that site. I am really connected to the land here, and to hear that 3,000 acres is just going to be destroyed. And then there's going to be a gas-fired power plant a half a mile from where I live, where I raised my 2-year-old. I never thought I would be here. I never thought we'd be having that conversation. The development, I did what I could. I did a 2-year rescue. Literally, we worked with headlights at night, saved over 7,000 plants that were rare species that no one even knew about. And that's on one end of 20. I'm 4 miles off of 71. I never thought I'd be talking about a gas-fired power plant across from my home where I raised my 2-year-old. So these tax abatements, I think Pacifico has made it relatively clear that they're not going to come here unless they get a certain amount of tax abatements. They may just pick Ohio, right? But Ohio put a moratorium in place. So what regulations can we do? Can we keep part of the land for conservation? Can we make them do setbacks, light pollution? Can they put their lights in a certain way so that they're not for everyone to see? These are so many homes, so many people. The Hoffmans are right there. They have been here forever. There's roads named after these people. I bought a cow from them. I mean, this is a community. And I'm also an Army veteran. So I don't know if that gives us credibility. It seemed to work for the first guy. So I think the thing is we're mad, and I know that frustrates you, and we have no idea what you guys are doing. All we feel is that we're being ran over from every direction and no one is doing anything. No, these are nightmares no one could have dreamed up. This is insanity. 3,000 acres on top of 1,500 acres on top of 1,200 acres that Amazon owns. So what are these? Whatever you can do with these tax abatements. I mean, it sounds like if you say no to Pacifico, they're not going to do it, which would help us with a gas-fired power plant and 3,000 acres of rural land surrounded by a community. So I ask, where can we find that information? Where can we know what you guys are doing so that maybe you won't get such a pushback? Is that information? Can you tell me?
Website somewhere. Yeah, it's on a county website, right?
The agreement.
The agreement is
And
on.
I'd say meeting minutes too.
What you guys
Which are
did for the
online.
tax abatement?
Yeah.
And then what about before this one for if you guys do tax abatements for Pacifico, knowing that if you don't do tax abatements, they're probably not going to build there. Where would we know? Would we know before you make the agreement?
I'm going to disagree with that assumption, but okay.
Yeah.
What assumption? They said it. Pacifico kind of like almost, it
Yeah,
almost
the
seemed like
criteria for
threatening.
the-
Like if you don't pick us or do this, we're not going to pick you. That's what it's.
They bought the land. They paid big money for it. They're not going to make a cattle
Are they
ranch
under
out of it.
contract or did they actually close? So I feel like they're in the due diligence period. I also had a real estate company.
I couldn't tell you that.
I don't think they've bought the land. I think they're contingent on the tax abatements. And I think that really needs to be known by the public, because saying that you have nothing, you can't do anything, but then these tax abatements seem like you can because they're in the contingency phase of the property purchase.
We can't do abatement if they don't own
If
the
they
land.
don't own the land, yeah.
So,
But you guys are talking about abatements. You guys haven't done abatements yet for them.
right.
I don't
Okay.
even know. Have they turned
And-
in a form?
Yeah, they've submitted their permits. But I think that would help us feel better, feel a little bit like someone is fighting for us. Because right now it feels like we're getting ran over.
So do we, but
Yeah.
we're listening.
Thank
We
you.
promise you, we hear everything everybody's saying, and we feel like we're getting run over too, because we've got no feet to stand on here.
Hello, good morning. My name is Robin Payson. I've lived in Bastrop now for about 38 or 39 years. I love it here. It's a wonderful place to live. But I've seen a lot of changes, and this latest round of data center development is certainly cause for concern. We already have a SpaceX, Boring Company, et cetera, and that whole development. And that is bringing in jobs, whether you're happy about that development or not. It's bringing in good jobs. It's making an economic difference that you can actually see. These data centers, when all said and done, 25 jobs for how many acres did you just list? Thousands and thousands of acres. But I have more questions than comments. Mr. Carmack, you said that, they could be held in default if they don't comply with the abatement. I don't understand what that means. And I'm not clear yet whether or not it's even possible for you to deny an abatement for Pacifico. Is it? That's not clear to me. Are we barking up a tree is that door closed or is that door opened? You said the abatement is the only leverage you have. For what? Is it a black and white leverage? Either you give it to them and then what? What happens what strings are attached to the abatement? I'm not clear on that at all. And I'm not sure going to the website and reading a document will provide the clarity that myself, and I'm a bright person, I can figure things out. And I've listened to a lot of this and I'm still not clear at all about those answers to my questions. And I don't want to be referred, Judge Klaus, to a document on a website. I would like straight, clear answers from you all about those questions. Is the door open and closed to Pacifico? Exactly what leverage does a tax abatement give you? Can you say, for example, we want you to put X number of dollars for when there's a fire, and all those costs are not picked up by us? We heard the presentation. How many millions of gallons did it take to put out that fire? How much fire equipment did it take to put that fire out that the gentleman spoke about on the video? How many staff? How many firemen? Who's going to cover those costs? Are we going to do another, oh, gee, we should have seen it coming? You know, after the fact? How do we hold their toes to the fire if we have to live with them? How can we ensure that? So how do we get answers to those
So
questions, sir?
that's what the abatement does. It tells them you can't use X amount of water. You can't,
All
What
those things are
happens
on
if
the
they
table.
do?
everything you just said, would be in the abatement. If you default on that, then
So you can add things like you have to put
yes, ma'am.
money into an account to fight a fire.
You could.
Or
You could
buy-
put anything and
buy
everything's on the
fire
table.
equipment. Yeah. all of
Well,
that.
I think the idea about having a committee that can invite the fire people to the table and invite citizens. And let's get real about putting some teeth into the only tool that we have, which is the abatement. Let's put some teeth into it. Thank
And
you.
that's what we've been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kelly. I live down the road from Mary over on Earl Callahan and Dairy Road. So we're within like a mile of the Pacifico Hyper Campus. First time I heard that word was 4 days ago. I first want to thank each of you for your focus and attention to the speakers as we come up here. I want to thank each of you for your focus and attention that you're giving to the speakers as we come up. And this is 4 days. I'm new to all of this, so it's kind of over my head. I think it's unproductive to come to this as an all or nothing conversation, right? For any of our sides. So I want to also thank you for the clarity, Ms. Beckett, that you gave about the 3 things that you have leverage on: floodplain, septic, and road access. That's helpful for my studies. I want to tag on to what she said. That's actually very exciting with the abatement. So what I've read so far with the Pacifico or these people, they're willing to meet the minimum requirements, whether it's X number of jobs, X amount of this and this. So the bar, whatever the bar is set at, they'll meet that minimum bar. So with the abatements, my question, or I guess my encouragement, is raise the bar. If it's 50 jobs, make it 300. I was going to actually propose something like, can we have them create or maintain an emergency fund in case of fire? Can we make one of the requirements that they have to hire and fully staff permanently 2 to 5 more firefighters, like whatever it is that would. Now, I'm not saying that this is not to ignore the fact that we don't want the data centers where they're going, all of the land, like those issues are talked to death. I'm looking at what are our like legitimate action steps. I'm also a veteran, in case that helps, former Marine. South Dakota, I believe it's South Dakota, just passed the Data Center Bill of Rights, I think it's the Roden, SB 135, and it puts consumption caps. It puts in place where they are required to pay for, financially absorb any excess utility costs to the county, to the area. So I don't know what is possible within the county versus municipality, and I'm understanding the difference, so thank you for that as well. We have so many burn bans, fire hazards, all of that. Like, that's one of my biggest concerns. We're on well water, all of those things. I mean, I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Can I make
Thank you.
a comment here?
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I just back to your question about fire, it's legitimate. We understand the concern. You know, these first 4 buildings, Edge Connects, when they're built out at that point, they're going to be getting, round numbers, just use around 12 million a year, I believe it was, and property taxes to the ESD 1. ESD 3, the ambulance service, will also be collecting around that same number. So, I mean, they're going to be funding, to your point, I
Okay.
think just wanted to explain that to you, so.
That's helpful.
Tax size, yes.
Make it higher, make it more. Thank you.
Well, there's state laws there, so.
And
Good
another
morning,
thing,
Commissioners.
and another thing, ma'am, you said the state of South Dakota did, put all those rules and regulations. The state did it. The counties didn't do it by themselves. And that's what we keep saying. We have no authority. We're trying to get the state, and we're going to go try to do that.
And we have the last 2 sessions tried to get a bill out on the floor to be voted on to give the counties more regulatory authorities. We've been active in that. Again, Commissioner Beckett mentioned we just brought in a new legal team to be able to help us facilitate. That's actually at the meeting today about data centers moratorium. So we're actively. I have not.
Not directly.
Yeah, not direct. We've sent plenty of messages, yes, but.
Go ahead.
Or have his phone number.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners and Judge. I have heard that your jobs are pretty thankless, and I believe that. What I'm concerned about, and I have some questions in reference to how this is rolled out. Commissioner Beckett, I hear that there seems some tensions between people, and I think what happens is when things unfold in ways that feel not transparent, it causes people to feel reactionary. It makes people feel like they have no say. And my concern is that my understanding is some of this abatement discussion happened in 2024. What concerns me greatly is that so many people were unaware that this was going to impact their community. So I'm not throwing a stone because we're here today. What I'm going to ask you is, what lessons have you learned? And what can we do now? What are you willing to do? And I appreciate going to getting legislation. However, the timing of it makes me less happy because it feels like it's a CYA thing. I would
We've
never
been
say,
trying for 2
I'm
years.
I'm
For 2
finished. I'm not
years.
finished. I'm not finished. I will allow you to speak. This is my time. So I think we're in a place is we have to move forward and we have to work together. And what I feel like is I don't want to be yelled at by my commissioners. You represent me. I want to partner, but I can't partner if it feels like I don't know enough. And I think some of the responsibility of commissioners is not just posting on your site, is ensuring your constituents understand the process from the beginning. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And I think legislation's being brought in again for this session for the same reason. So this
Last
will be
2
the third,
sessions as well.
this will be the third time.
Yes.
Jeff Harper. First of all, Butch, want to commend you. I think what you mentioned earlier was a performance bond. I'm not sure if that's the right name for it, but we should work together to do that to the extent that we have power. And something I hadn't heard discussed much is eminent domain. If you have typically it's where property is being acquired, but if you have property in close proximity, it seems that would meet the same conditions. So as part of that performance bond, I think it would be good because you probably have a lot of folks of modest means out there in the area who can't hire lawyers for eminent domain and that sort of thing. Okay, now I want to shift from this specific project because fortunately we have so many bright people in this county and good people. And I want to go back to something that Cal Seliger, former state senator, was notorious for when asked about what government he favors. And he would say small and local. Well, we have lost it. We have big government, distant. And on top of that, we have arrogant capital like never before. That was the title of a book some of y'all may recall Kevin Phillips. He was notorious for writing the book, The Emerging Republican Majority. Well, this will come as a surprise to maybe some folks, but there was a time when I voted Republican because I believed in the limited government. But the party has drifted so far away from that. So I want to have a cooperative type of chord struck here that we need to get a handle on these things. And at the state level, as y'all talked about, it's kind of ridiculous when you have a situation where if you give us money, we'll make adjustments and, you know, that granting the tax abatements in order to be able to have leverage. It's crazy. Brings to mind what Henry Ford said, you can have any colored card you want, long as it's black. But let's see if we can do it here in Bastrop County. We've got so many good folks, we got so many bright folks, and we need to get a handle on our government. I hadn't heard that thing beep, so I'm gonna, a parting thought that folks might want to Google up. Cantillon effect, Cantillon effect, EFFECT. That was an economist way back in, I believe, the 18th century. It's very simple, what he discovered. When you have a central bank, in our case, the Fed, create more money, it disproportionately benefits people in the upper classes. And it's not hard to understand. They can access that money more readily for which to make more money. And that's what supercharged our big distant government with arrogant capital. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jane Markham. I live in Cedar Creek in Homestead on Hobbs Creek. This is all of our problem. I understand that you have been hobbled by the Texas state government, which has been run by Republicans these many years. Ann Richards was governor when I moved here, and it has been not serving the people. I hear over and over about Greg Abbott's arrogance towards cooperating with his own members of his government here. And I want you to know that we are with you. We want you to be able to do what any other city or town can do. You should be able to represent us. We should have the power to regulate these things. And we are standing up to say, we will drive with you to the Capitol and make our voices heard there. This is going to affect all of us. Already, we have an industrial corridor being formed in the center of our state. This pollution is our pollution. We're a big state. It's not going to make its stacks tall enough to blow into another state and become their problem. This is like the dust that comes from the Sahara Desert and pollutes our atmosphere. This is like the fire that swept on the other side of Bastrop and almost reached our main town. You can look at so many, from Los Angeles to Hawaii. This is a problem that is only growing. And to shrug our shoulders and say, we can put it off, we can wait. No, we need this moratorium now. We need laws now that will take care of these people and put them in hand. Because Elon Musk signed agreements and he pays fines. And our state is out to turn over some of our precious wildlife reserves so he can let his junk drop on it. So the man took apart our government so he couldn't be put out of business. We have, you know the end of this story, but we're here for you. We're not working against you. We want to work with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Lee Dustman. I live in rural Bastrop County. I'm a retired state worker with over 2 decades of service to Texas. And the first thing I want to do is thank you guys for your service to the common good of Texas. I appreciate what you've done. There's a lot I don't know about what's going on, and so if I misspeak out of ignorance, please understand. I apologize. But I wanted to ask clarification for a couple of things I've heard said from the dais this morning. The statement was made that we have not asked businesses to come to Bastrop County. And I acknowledge that it may be true that there's no letter from the county to the business that says, please, please, please. But I would like to say that it seems incomplete not to acknowledge that $10 million is an incentive and does incent business to come. $10 million probably doesn't change your mind, but it does change the mind of businesses, in my opinion. Also, I heard Ms. Beckett, I want to especially thank you for your service and your clarification today of what the county limits are, what it can and can't do. I didn't know much about that, and I appreciate it. Now, I may be wrong, but my assumption is that abatements are a contract. And my understanding is that contracts are valid only if entered into voluntarily. And so when people say there's nothing we can do about a moratorium, I'd like to point out that it seems to me there's an opportunity for you guys to put a moratorium on tax abatements. Now, that may or may not be true. You guys can clarify, and I hope that you can provide us with further understanding. Thank you.
So I want to point something out. You remind me of a good point. Thinks most of y'all probably remember RWE came to town, Big Star Solar, and they did a 2,000 acre solar farm down off of Jetto Road. Y'all probably mostly live in Cedar Creek, but those people were really mad on Jetto Road. But so we went through a really lengthy process of some town hall meetings and meetings down there in Rosanke, and took a lot of notes on what people were concerned about. And they had already bought all the property, and I suspected very strongly they were going to build it with or without an abatement. So the question begs, right? Why did you do that? Well, from all of those meetings with constituents, meetings like this, they had a laundry list of concerns. So in the abatement agreement, we put in the long laundry list of concerns: wildlife corridors, setbacks, landscaping requirements, noise levels, dark sky lighting, all that stuff. And in the process, I remember one of the young man, he was literally younger than my son, but anyway, he said, you can't ask for anything else. That's it. We're done. I'm not going back to Germany. And it was a UK company, and asking for anything else. So I thought, well, maybe I've done my job. Well, recently, and we approved the abatement agreement, and I think it was real solid. So fast forward, year or two ago, RWE came back into town and built Waterloo out on 71. My phone never rang. They just built it. So I think that might go to your question a little bit, that they didn't need the abatement. And if you ask, it's a negotiation, it's a contract. So anything and everything's on the table. And it's, I don't have a crystal ball, none of us do. And we try to negotiate the best of our ability to put those protections in place that people are looking for and that are reasonable, and don't push them over the edge and they build it anyway and don't have to comply with any of that. So it was pretty proof in the pudding. When RWE came back some 8 years later, whatever it was, they didn't fill out an abatement application. They didn't call me and ask for a meeting. They simply built a monstrous solar farm on Highway 71 as you're going into Austin on the north side. I'm sure you've seen it. Phone never rang on that one. They just applied for a permit, complied with our floodplain order, got a driveway permit from TxDOT, and built the solar farm. So I think that's a pretty good example of how it works.
And to that point, if I might, just the comment was made about we were trying to CYA the court. And I'm going to tell you, this court's been working for you guys. And we have tried to get a bill on the floor the last 2 legislative sessions to give us more regulatory authorities. That's fell flat. It has not made it out to have a vote on it, but we're still trying. And my understanding it's going to be introduced again this year. But that's just the point of just what limited tools that we have within the law that we're able to enact those things. And so the abatement deal, as I mentioned earlier, the taxes are, substantial for the fire, for the EMS or whatever. There's no abatement on any of the schools. I mean, and they don't have to build schools for a situation like this, but yet they've got a big windfall of tax revenue coming in. So, at any rate, that's enough about that. I just want to let you know, clarify that we have been working on your behalf to try to get some regulatory authorities, and it's just failed at the Capitol. So anything you can do to help us, we appreciate it. Wait,
Let's just wait, please.
Hello, thank you very much for allowing us to speak, and thank you for representing us. I am Terry Thompson. I do live here in Bastrop County. And my question is, we talk about the abatement. Is there anything in document form that we as individuals can go and read what the abatement is, and where is it located for us to find it? Thank you very much.
Gentleman and gentle lady. My name is Sandra Trebway. I live on the Bastrop Caldwell County border, and I'm sorry, I'm very, very nervous. We just recently moved here about 5 years ago. We finally were able to buy our own little plot of our land. And now we're threatened with pollution, noise. Well, we're not, I don't think, close enough for noise. I'm not sure. I don't really know. But my question actually is for you, sir, Mr. Klaus. You stated that you would rather have an AI center next to your home than a development. When I hear that, I hear that you are preferring big business that interferes with everything, our air, our water, everything, over a development where there's going to be children playing, people going to work. I don't understand the comment. It doesn't, to me, it sounds like you're choosing the big business over family and community.
Okay, I'll be glad to explain that. The reason I said that is if you got a 1,500 home development, you're going to have a whole lot more traffic. The county is going to need a whole lot more police force. The sheriff's going to have a whole lot more officers to police all that. The roads that this development is going to build, we've got to maintain these roads after the development, 2 or 3 years down the road after the development is built. That's what I mean by that. I'm not for big business. I would just as soon not have these things in the county. I'll give you an example. I had 66 acres behind me where I live out in the country. Well, the legislature made it where you can have mini farms. 10 acres is a mini farm. These people come in there, a realtor come in there, divided this land up into 11 acres. Now, I don't have anything against the Spanish people. I hear real loud Tejano music over there. I hear gunshots. I hear everything else.
have the same.
I didn't
money.
like that. I couldn't afford to buy the land. They sold it for 13,000 an acre, which was cheap when they sold it. But I don't like it. It's just like the data centers. I don't like them coming in here, but there was nothing I could do about that development doing that. So I'm not for big business. That's what I'm saying. It's just not going to be as much traffic or anything like that. So,
But basically, what you're saying is all the things that we need for the development, may I continue? For the development are the same things that you're gonna need for the centers, the AI centers. You're gonna need more police, you're gonna need more fire. There's gonna be more traffic. So I would rather have families there, and even as you say, we have neighbors also, but that doesn't go all night long. It ends. The AI centers, the sound is continual. It doesn't stop. I can't imagine living next to that.
well, a 1,500 house subdivision is going to have 3,000 people driving cars because they figure 2 cars per person.
Right?
You're going to have 3,000 cars coming in and out of there. The fire and everything. These data centers have their own fire stations. They have their own. They don't have their own fire station, but they have fire suppression systems built into them. So it's.
Yeah, I have not
that's
heard
what
that they have their own fire department.
I think I'm gonna have a break.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and then also I've just recently learned.
Well,
that-
your 3 minutes are up. Sorry. Thank you.
Good afternoon yet? No, good morning. Thank you all for being here and allowing us to try to have some sort of an input on this thing. I mean, I've never felt so like just completely helpless. And I know I hear that you guys have the same issues, but it is really disheartening to say the least. I moved here. I'm not one of the legacy ranchers. I moved here in 2021 after my parents passed away. I'd been caregiving for them in New Mexico for 9 years. And I just wanted a fresh start. I purposely bought rural property in Red Rock. I love it there. And this is just really scary to me. And I have a list that I need to switch around a little bit because the initial town hall I thought was including the corporate owners as well. So it was more questions for them. But my biggest concern when you say they have to do an environmental impact, that is very, very broad. But when I hear that you're going to pave over 2,000 acres, or they are, that they're going to pave over 2,000 acres in one footprint that was agricultural, unincorporated land. I want to know, are they going to do environmental, not just environmental, but erosion impact studies? And where does the runoff water going to go when it stops at 2,000 acres on concrete? Are the people, upriver from the facilities going to be underwater, or is there going to be effects on our groundwater, on our aquifers, not getting as much water as they normally should through the ground? So to me, that's a stronger environmental impact study than just a broad, what can, how does it affect the area? I also have a video on here of the sound, the deafening sound that some of these places in Michigan, especially, they're having a real horrible time right now. I mean, literally, I remember years ago when the electromagnetic waves were driving people crazy that they went through their ranches and stuff, and the normal ear couldn't even hear them. The noise coming off of these data centers in Michigan, and I don't know if they're everywhere, but the recorded noise I heard was the most screechy, deafening sound recorded across the street in a neighborhood living room from this facility. And it was so loud they could barely talk in her living room. And that is really scary to me, that to have that just constant, doesn't go up and down, it doesn't turn off and on. It's just a constant, like a giant vacuum cleaner with like too much dirt in it where it's screechy sounding. So those kind of things are my biggest concern. And I know you guys are struggling to do what you can when you can, but in these abatement negotiations, when there are minimum requirements, I mean, when I moved here, I wasn't expecting the minimum requirements as a resident that I ran into, and I'm still running into. So it feels like to me, like the requirements on me are more than these big corporations. And that's probably not true, but that's, you know, as an individual, that's what it feels like.
Okay.
So I just wanted to voice those real serious concerns with runoff water and blocking the wildlife study. Somebody mentioned that they saved wildlife on another project not too long ago. I mean, what's going to happen? 2,000 acres is a big footprint.
Thank you, ma'am.
And there's several footprints. So, yeah. So that's, thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I just point out on the drainage issue, it's required by the water code to basically meter the same amount of stormwater runoff pre-construction versus post. That's the law. Interestingly, though, it's only enforceable civilly. So if someone were violating it, someone would have civil recourse to sue the landowner for putting water on them or whatever. Right. But again, it's not codified in our regulatory authority to require it. Now, fortunately, most legitimate companies that build commercial development submit their drainage studies because it's in their best interest to do it properly.
Legitimate is the keyword right now.
Well, and anybody, they'd be out of their mind to build a multi-million-dollar facility that didn't properly meter their stormwater runoff. That would be insane.
Right.
But we do grapple with it on different scales. But again, it's not codified that the county can require it.
Sure.
It's just a civilly enforceable law under the water code. That's, I mean, this is one of the things we've talked about over the years with regard to this issue,
and
about how crazy it is that we can't actually require them to submit proof of that.
Right.
Even though it is,
and I think
again,
most of
a
us
law.
here appreciate the fact that y'all's hands are really tied.
We
I mean,
require it, but
yeah, but I
we
mean,
haven't been challenged.
I think most of us realize, I mean, I didn't realize it till I started reading into it, but I think I can have an appreciation that y'all can't do really much except propose with the legislators.
I just wanted to address, you brought up drainage, and
Right.
that's near and dear to me. And,
Yeah, and me too.
studied that a lot over the years.
And we all,
Thank you all for anything you can do.
thank you.
That's really kind of where we are right now, is just grabbing at that rope.
And we all know that just because it's a 2,000 acre that they bought, there's not going to be no 2,000 acres that are under concrete. No way. Well, there's no way there's going to be 2,000 acres under concrete. That's a lot of land to pour concrete on. Well, even 3,000.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, I'm Phil Cook. I do have land abutting the Pacifica land there. Governor Abbott, who's until very recently been a strong advocate for these things, has recently recommended to the Public Utility Commission for a set of guidelines. Regarding specifically Pacifica and the power plants, the gas power plants, the turbines they're going to have out there for electricity. Governor Abbott recommends that they be add capacity to the grid. These power plants aren't even going to be attached to the grid. So there's no way the public could ever get any benefit from them. Best practice standards for noise reduction and property setbacks. There are no property setbacks. The noise reduction from all of these jet engine turbines running out there is going to be tremendous. He also recommended repealing the data center's sales tax exemptions. Of course, sales tax is a state tax, but he also recommended other outdated, unnecessary incentives for the data centers, and that's what I consider this tax abatement to be: unnecessary and outdated. The air pollution, the noise pollution, light pollution, heat pollution, dust pollution from the construction out there for the folks who live around there for miles around is just going to be intolerable. They won't be able to sell their property values are going to be worthless, their whole way of life. It's going to affect the agriculture out there, and it's simply intolerable. And on that basis, I ask you not to grant any tax abatements to Pacifica in particular. When you adopt tax abatements, it starts sounding like to these companies like not just an incentive, but an inducement. It sounds like something they're entitled to, an entitlement. Pacifica has said, I don't know if it has to you folks, but to the school board, that if they do not get the incentives, the abatements, they won't build. Well, Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook, can I address one thing, sir?
Yes, of course.
You mentioned the noise pollution and the light pollution and the air pollution and all that.
Yes.
And I don't know how to say it any clearer. Without the tax abatement, they don't have to live by any rules.
I understand that completely.
The tax abatement is the tool we use to make them not do the light pollution, not do the noise pollution, not do the air pollution. That's the tool that we have been given to.
My argument about that is they cannot abate the air pollution. They cannot abate the noise pollution. They can abate somewhat the light pollution. These data centers and the power plant cannot abate the heat pollution. It's there. It's just going to be there. Again, I don't accept the argument that they're going to do it anyway. I think without the abatements, they're going to go to their alternate site that they claim to have in Ohio.
Yes, sir. But if they buy the land, they're going to do it. Period. I mean, they're not going to buy the land and not do it.
Well, perhaps.
So
perhaps
that's where
if they bought it, they can sell it.
That's where we're tied up. If they buy the land, they're going to build the buildings. So
well, I understand you sincerely believe that, but I don't.
Okay.
I think the cost involved in building this thing far, far, far exceed what they paid for the land. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, all. I wasn't planning on speaking today. I just wanted to come and see the opinions and the statements from my neighbors here. And it seems that I'm aligned with the majority of the speakers here today, that I'm going to be within a stone's throw of this Pacifico building. And that's horrifying. That's the same idea that everyone says of like, we moved out here to get that country life, to get away from the city, to get away from the noise, to get away from the lights. I have family, friends come and visit. I've had people come from other nations come and see my property and see just how beautiful is it out here in Texas. And this is the moment where I'm proud to say, yes, I'm an American. Look at how wonderful this is. This is Texas. And to see that we're being bought out by big business and saying that there's nothing we can do, our hands are tied. But one thing I want to make sure that it's said here and pointed out, that you'd stated that the environmental studies have been done, and something that, if not everyone here is aware, again, living in Cedar Creek, I lose power when the wind blows too hard. I lose power if it rains just a little bit too much. I lose power if it's a little bit too hot and too many people have the AC on. The fact that they're going to get better running energy without assistance to any of us seems a little egregious. But outside of that, the concern to the fire, like just a few years ago, we had 100 days, over 100 degrees with no rain. We have fire bans consistently. We have water restrictions consistently. To say that they met every requirement, when this is like we're seeing weekly and the newsletters going out, like you can't do a burn, you can't have whatever it is. It seems that something is missing here in their studies if that's the case. Because how can I live within half a mile of this and I have these problems, yet everything on their side would have been 100% fine. So I just want to come up here and voice a little bit and say that I'm agreeing with everyone here. Getting that support of the 1 year statewide moratorium, I think is the best option. Again, I hope nothing else. It's another voice to say we don't want the data center here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guess who's here? The old lady. Hey there, you guys. Governor Abbott wanted Texas to be #1 in the data centers. Have you thought about that Texas is #1 in teenage pregnancies? We're #1 in people without insurance. And I think that we need to step back and think about these things. And I suggest, since 2 land management people have bought the land, that Pacifica could move right out here to the Alcoa land, or Lumina, whichever you want to call it. And there's already an electric gas-fired plant being built there. And they could move out there on land that is already polluted. There's plenty of water out there in their holding tanks. And why couldn't they move out there? And also, we need to call the governor's office every day. And the number, if you don't remember, is 512-463-2000. Call them every day. And we need to do this to get a special session and get some really firm guidelines on this for the whole state, not just Bastrop, but the whole state. And I will be leaving y'all for Washington the 2nd, and I don't know why I'll see you again, but as I say, enjoy every day and love everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms.